Hi, Gail Fugit, President and CEO of the Advertising Research Foundation, and I'm here with Michael Treon, who's a Vice President of Platforms and Strategy. Is that right?
Yes,
at AOL.
yes.
So I want to just kick off with, a little bit of storytelling. We're at the end of a long day, and you're saying there's a nice breeze, and I'm like, it's freezing. So we have different perspectives maybe on things. It's pouring down rain, so we got a little bit of time here.
Yeah.
To just kind of tell me your story. Like, how do you find yourself here at CES 2016? And I know you considered working for a friend in a brewery, and you had a number of different important and probably envious choices. But here you are working at AOL, and you have had a very impressive run already at the ripe old age of 31.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit of your story.
Yeah, no, sure. I think, I think 2016 will be my 10th year at AOL. And all of it, my professional.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. It's a lifetime, seems sometimes in this industry, but it's been good. It's been a really good fit for what I didn't know I wanted to do, getting into this field, and my college career, I feel, prepared me well, but it was really by happenstance that I found AOL, and I found the job with, at that time it was advertising.com, and it was what I thought I wanted coming out of school, as a startup environment, and Baltimore was a kind of a hip town for that, and an environment that was small, and at that point we were owned by AOL, but I didn't really know anybody that worked at AOL except myself, and we still had that small culture. But it's been a really good mix for me of kind of business and technology, and I think that's the trend that AOL has been on, and really the space has been on. It's kind of aligned to what I feel my own personal strengths are. But what I did from an education standpoint was computer information systems, really a mix of business and computer science or technology. And I've
where did that inspiration come from?
Yeah, I grew up. I was always like a big, had an entrepreneurial spirit, and running a business, and from a young age,
so
always
is that a Kool-Aid stand or?
Yeah,
I was actually stopped by a Boy Scout in Minneapolis, probably a Cub Scout, who was selling popcorn, and he told me that 90% of the proceeds went directly to the Scouts, and I thought, oh my gosh, you're like,
he's got it set up.
He was a young entrepreneur, so like you.
No, I had a 100% profit golf ball business where I was finding golf balls and selling them back to golfers.
You live on the golf course?
Yeah, my parents did when I was young. And I used to do that, and I started a web design business with a friend of mine.
It's kind of hard to beat 100% profit.
No, that was good.
Those were the good old days.
Yeah. And I started a web design business and got into the internet, and I was in high school or junior high school, and it was still young. But when I went to college, I really liked the aspects of running a business, but I was good with technology, working with computers, and wanted to figure out a way to kind of bring that together. And when I left school, the job I started with AOL was an analyst role, and it was a mix of a numbers and a logic game with kind of customer relationship and sales and how ad campaigns worked, and really when marketing started to get involved, I really liked the understanding the technology and understanding the customer became really important. And I think that's the line that I've straddled, at least with AOL, for a long time. And as programmatic got bigger and bigger, and the technology became such a bigger piece of it, I found a place kind of riding along with that. So I love meeting with customers and working with our sales team and hearing what they want to do, and trying to translate what the technology can do, or better yet now, trying to think of what we should do when we're designing and building products. So it's been a good ride, but I think the piece of it for me has just been what works well, and I try and keep my interests open. I still help my friends who run the brewery, and try and bring some of the knowledge I have now to, hey, here's how you guys run a website, or what you need to do on Facebook, and that helps. And even having that in the back of my mind is thinking, I'm a very small marketer in that instance, but having those kind of relationships and thinking about it constantly in a space that changes is, I think, what's helped me stay up with it.
Yes, you're kind of talking art and science. Like, how do you apportion those out in terms of your perspective?
That's it. It's a balance of that, and every meeting or every client's going to be different, and I feel like you have some days that are so technical, and it really involves in 2 or 3 weeks, and we're in product planning and strategies in this, and then going back out and talking to a customer is like, oh, that's what they want, and it becomes simpler and designing around that. So it's that balance of what works and kind of what is a little bit of magic almost is sometimes what's between the art and the science of things.
Yeah.
And I think that was back to how we ran hands on the keyboard running campaigns and starting that way. I have a appreciation for people have a big impact on this business.
How does teamwork fit in for you?
It's a lot of it, and I think especially across
like your team and the client, like across the whole group,
or
how do you think
even
about
within
it?
even within those two, if you think about just the way a strategy has to be activated in technology, right? And somebody's got to do that, and it's not the person who wrote the strategy or built the creative, but however that either the product, the technology, or the teamwork that brings those folks closer together, that I can make an independent decision that I know is going to be in the best interest of this group or this group, and just some fundamental teamwork basics, but keeping that together in the context of marketing and advertising, I think is what helps it. And the teams that I've worked with, as an analyst on a sales team, that's I think what helped me do well is I knew what they wanted without having to ask. And,
how did you know?
We had a pretty good trust of what the outcomes we wanted were. And I think if I knew that they trusted me, that if I said no, I could trust that they would go tell the client that it's not in.
What's an example of the outcomes that you might look for?
I think when it's that business and the display business initially was very results oriented, and campaigns and things that had to work, especially in this space when you're dealing with partners and vendors and marketers, it can't just work for one side, right? And it has to be good for the vendor from a business standpoint. It has to work for the marketer, and I think trusting and being forthright up front sometimes, like, this isn't going to work for us, and there's ways that everybody can work together that are going to be those relationships. But some of the folks that I work with that have taught me a lot of have said things like this, like, is it repeatable, is it working for both sides? And those are things that are the successes we should celebrate and that we should try and replicate and do over and over. So I think teamwork's one good example of that is everybody's marching to the same drummer, and that you can make those kind of autonomous decisions and still affect real change that's in the best interest of clients and the vendor, our business as a whole. So I think those are some underlying things we have to know when to say no, and know when to, again, always be honest, but know when to lay it down. So
what recipe would you give marketers today? We're in the C space at CES, and there's the enclave of private rooms happening right here with us, right? Where a variety of publishers, probably including AOL, are meeting with the marketers, kind of saying, here's what we think you should do. What advice would you give them today, unplugged?
I think like anything is you got to be a student of the craft, and I think it's a bit harder in our space now to do that. And I don't pretend to know how hard it is for marketers to deal with the amount of people that are inbound saying, I have the best new product, or you have to meet with me because my boss is in town. But how you're reading through those sales pitches it's got to be a challenge. And to me the thing is just knowledge and really asking a knowledgeable question to that vendor in the meeting is it's not going to be a gotcha, but it's going to change the conversation from pitch to how we work together. And I think that's the great clients that we work with is these guys are you always want somebody who's smarter than you and that's driving you to bring that better product or find that solution.
I think a lot of times people need examples. I mean, I was at General Mills 32 years, and so I was on that side of having all these sales pitches, and you're right, you just get overwhelmed, and you're like, and everybody has numbers that say that theirs is the best, but you're like, I don't know who's right. And one of our member companies that's a publisher, actually went out last year and did, the year before last, and did experiments. And so they brought literally concept solutions with some data from their experiments.
Right.
Here's what we tried with some clients. This is what worked. So there's some more actual proof points, not just them saying that about their own data and come and try my thing. So there's no stink oil.
Yeah,
in there,
no,
right?
and it's data is such a tough dice in our game right now in our sales bag, and what our salespeople take out is you have to go with data, and you have to be able to tell somebody a client about their data, but data is easily manipulated, and the difference between statistics and relevance and what you really find there, and it's tough, and I think it's about taking it with a grain of salt and saying, okay, am I going to learn from this, or am I going to build on this as a client? But I mean, I think that's probably the role a lot of clients are in now is chasing data. Is like, what's my data? What's out there? What can I think about? Who can tell me more about my customer? And what are those relationships I want to foster? And the tough thing now too is doing that with multiple vendors, right? And especially big vendors, right? Like the big folks out there who have big amounts of data. It's it's tough, and you have to have a little strategy for each one. But I think it's probably. The game, to use a gambling analogy, you're putting a lot of small bets out there and trying to figure out which ones are paying off. And,
I mean, I think that's a good idea. The sooner the better.
Yeah.
I think you raise a really good point. The point has been made a couple times today about the importance of context for advertising. Yeah. But as I listen to you around data, and that's one of the things I notice. Data needs context also. Oh yeah, right?
It's such a good point. And I think one of the things we're looking at really heavily is what Verizon brings us as AOL as
Great
a relationship.
Point. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, and it's but I think context is it's so important when we look at device relationships and data, right? Is the device can tell us so much contextually about what space the person's in, right? Is if the TV's going at the same time the data is going on the mobile phone, there's probably a different relationship with I'm not tuned into the TV, so to speak, right? So how do we start to contextualize that data and make it, and start to make real world behavioral understanding that we can connect to online data, And I think that's what we're really excited about with what the device can bring. And I think that's a lot of what, mobile is, that device is, it's tethered to us, and it's going to tell us a lot of data about the state of mind I'm in, or what I'm doing, or what's my relationship with Target or Walmart, right? Like, device can help contextualize some of those relationships through data, and I think that's what's really, really, really interesting, is starting to build bigger, better consumer profiles that are, consumer centric, and it's not just about, where and when and what ad, but, what space was that person in physically, mentally at that given time? Do
you think that what's your point of view about the creative? Do you think the creative should be the same across all the platforms, or do you think that it should be customized?
Yeah, no, I think it is. I mean, I think there's a lot to be said for dynamic creative and being able to render it for that user, but I still think we're rendering off a base of data that's, you read an article about autos. Am I really in market for that car? Are we really rendering it with the smartest data? I hesitate to think, but I think we definitely have a creative problem.
It's a measurement challenge too.
Yeah.
We're still probably stuck a little bit on last click
attribution. Yeah. And that's a huge thing, right? And I mean, you certainly can't tell what I saw on, this device is this versus this device, and my television, and how much influence was there. But I think as the data gets better,
some of the devices are shared across family members.
Right, exactly. But creative that's going to be ever evolving, right? And I think this industry probably owes it a lot more to consumers to figure out a better way to engage. And again, I think if we get the better data and getting relevant things in front of consumers that are valuable and that are, content rich and driven, I'm going to have a brand experience through a creative that it changes the relationship and how people view what the advertising can do. And I think that's when stuff starts to unlock around what's really possible there. But I think we're still in very much early stages in some of those things. Yeah.
So you've had like a spectacular run, and you're 31 years old, right?
30. I'm 32 now.
Oh, you're 32.
I'm 32.
Okay,
32.
so the published that you were 31. So, all right, you're 32, the ripe old age of 32. 40 under 40 at 32. I mean, you just nicked 30 under 30.
Yep,
so.
yep.
My question is, have you had failure or disappointments along the way? And how have you dealt with that? And what advice would you give, folks on how to deal with that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the beauty of this industry is it's a really short life cycle. And for a long time, it's very involved in the, the sales cycle and with clients. And we're in a lot of big pitches and things where, you lose out on that or things change. And certainly, I'd be remiss to say that 10 years at AOL have not been without, tragedy and up and down and many different company names and things that, we spent a lot of time on that never came to fruition. But, I think it's almost like the stock market sometimes is, you're going to have some, really big short-term losses, but over time, everything's moving up, right? And I think, part of it for me is, dealing with some of those small failures has been level setting it to...
How do you do that?
I think the benefit now is...
Is it mentors? Is it a good boss?
Yeah,
Is it,
no, I mean,
a happy life outside of work? Is it like what's the math of
Yeah, no, I
that
think a good point is
for
the boss and the mentors is that I've been there 10 years, but my boss has been with AOL for almost 16, right?
Okay.
And all started at .com and there's a
and you've had the same boss
for a good while, for a good while, and but that we have a group of individuals who have been around, who have stuck through it, and have really formed a lot of the strategy behind the programmatic aspect of AOL. And there were dark days where that wasn't a focus of what AOL was doing,
right.
and we fought for it, and that team is still there and working. So I feel, as even when things are bad, I'm working with those guys, and that we have a lot on the horizon, and everything's getting better. And again, when I look back at all of AOL's done, it's like never been a better time at AOL, right? And for the last 5 years, I've said that, and it's like, so it keeps getting better, and I think we're on the right track. So I think I've learned.
So where does that come from? This great quote. I have to read it because it's too long. It was too long for me to remember exactly. But you said about AOL. It's a lifelong relationship builder. The people here influence and impact with you. That influence and impact you are. Impact who you are and how you live your life. That's such a powerful statement.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I garbled it.
Yeah, no. And I was like, that sounds good.
It's
I wrote
profound,
it.
but where does that come from? That really, tenacious, like I'm in it. Like this is like I'm really have perspective and I'm in it for the long haul.
Yeah, no, I mean I think that's
a place that definitely has had ups and downs.
Yeah, for sure, and it's that it's that small group of people and the relationships that come out of it. So being in somebody's wedding that was your boss, or having those deep outsider relationship. Things that were fostered by AOL. So, it's events like this. Is I see a ton of people I used to work with that have gone on and done a lot of different other things. But I'm seeing them now because they're friends, and it's always been at least good for me at AOL to foster a lot of those relationships and in the different spaces I've worked with, and even the people that come in and out of the company.
Yeah.
Still, we have a lot of that relationship from when they were at the company. So I think that's a big part of it too, is, it's everything that surrounds, working there. And, as I've gotten older, it's changed, but, when you're younger.
Yeah,
and
you're so old.
But I mean, when I was, it's the startup vibe, and it's hanging out after work. And today it's more, I'm, really good friends with them and their kids, right? And having those kind of relationships that have now gone way beyond work or that work environment. So any day something gets bad with work is you look at the impact that your job has actually had on your personal life and your relationships and the people that you now call your friends is as bad as it could have been. You still have those things, so it can't all be that bad. So I think that's what I was trying to get to with maybe that point.
That really makes a lot of sense. You were leading, a key leader in this whole area of programmatic. How did you get inspired to that? And I have to imagine that it took a lot of tenacity. It's like we've advocated, when I got to the ARF, they had done a lot of really great work in neuroscience, and it was still very controversial.
Yeah.
You know, my board members were like, you got to get off of this.
Yeah.
And not all of them, but enough of them. And, you know, we did not. We like hung in.
Yeah.
So how, you know, what did it take for you to do that?
Yeah, no, and I think...
And how did you know you were right?
Yeah, I think part of the benefit is just that, you know, the advertising.com business and where that came from, I think is fundamentally, it's a really big piece of what happened in the industry. Is if I look back and you timelined out all the individuals that started there, came through that company, and where they ended up in the programmatic space at least, I think that had, you know, such a profound impact on the people that went and led other places and innovated other places. And I think you know, it's not just been me, but we've kept that alive. Again, that small group of people, and that's always been a core piece and an asset of what AOL's had, and said, you know, hey, this was a great acquisition for them, right? In 2004, 2005, such foresight, and it was just such a different approach to business because it was so, you know, results oriented, and there was a lot of smart people there, and a lot of these ideas, which eventually became programmatic, spun out of like, you know, people wanting to, you know, be smart and try something new, and you had the runway to be able to do that and have that. And I think, you know, once the organization of AOL really came and recognized what was happening there, and I think there was a big moment for when Tim Armstrong saw it and really saw how content and the technology can come together, and he laid out that strategy probably, you know, 5 or 6 years ago when he came in. And I thought, again, going back to that art and science thing, it was brilliant. Nobody was doing it, and we had the opportunity to support that side of the business. And I think it's been great because it's been such a big piece of what's helped AOL, and that message is we've been doing the same thing for, you know, 5 years and really focused on that. And you know, AOL's has been a great place to foster it because it does have great relationships, and you know, one of the really good things that helps drive innovation for anybody, like I said, is talking to customers, right? Here's what we want, right? Like, they don't know they want programmatic if it doesn't exist, but, you know, I want to be able to do better and be more efficient and target these audiences, and that's what drives those products that end up coming out of there. And I think just those things coming together is, you know, really good working relationships, really smart people, and you know, a desire to get ahead, right? I mean, it's a competitive business, and trying to be out there and do that has been really good.
So your biggest success this past year? You know, we're kind of heading into 2016.
Not mine, but I mean, I think it's big. It was.
Well, what's yours?
Oh, mine, I think, is you know, I mean, seeing and I'll just, you know, seeing an exit for AOL to Verizon is, you know, it was something that I never, you know, never saw happening really, you know, that many years ago, that we would get bought, or that we would have such a future that's so different, right, than what you can imagine. But it's so clear. It snaps, you know, like the synergies between those businesses. And it's, you know, again, huge validation for anybody who works in this space, and especially works at AOL, to be able to, you know, tell your friends who are like, AOL, and, you know, well, it's Huffington Post, and now it's Verizon, and all these things. And, you know, it's a multi-billion-dollar huge U.S. company. I think that's a tremendous...
Not a personal success.
I mean, the 40 under 40 thing was big. I mean, I think that's...
Congratulations.
Thank you. I mean,
big.
it was, you know, it's cool to be recognized, and great to be recognized. And
well, what I love is that you really embrace it, because I've seen over the course of my career so many people, it's part of the advice that I give, that, oh, that award and that award. There's a certain point, and typically when someone is more your generation than my generation now, they're like, oh, this is just going to keep happening, right? There's this feeling that these awards, like, you'll be 50 under 50, 60 under 60, like, trust me, it's probably not right.
Right. That's
70 under 70.
That's the best, right.
So I love that you have this, like, recognition of, it's a special moment in time, and something to really grab
and
I
got a caricature for it, you know.
Oh,
so that's
you
always,
when
you made it, right? Somebody told me
absolutely.
It's like when the journal does a caricature of you too, you're really in it.
Yeah,
But I mean,
hardcore.
it's great, and I think it was, you know, it's a, you know, the career's been sometimes a coincidence of good timing and right place, but that's a great one to have happen, and I'm happy for it as AOL, and I think part of it is my story aligns really well with AOL's, and again being there and this idea of art and science and having that, but I think it fit, and it was a good pat on the back at the right time, I think.
No kidding. Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's close it off with a prediction.
Yeah.
What's your prediction for 2016?
Yeah, I think...
What do you think's going to happen? We're going to be here a year from now, right here.
Yeah.
Right?
I think
Maybe it won't be raining. It might be a little warmer.
Yeah. In the ad space, I think it's about, all I keep hearing about is identity, and really that's, the big thing is, who is the consumer, and really getting out. And I think programmatic's been very tactical and nitty-gritty in terms of cross-device and cross-platform and these things. And I think we're getting really close to starting to think about turning the point towards the more dream level of what programmatic can be. And that's like the omni-channel, and I know my customer wherever they go, and I'm getting that better vision. And I think we're having, the steps are in place to start getting that way. And I think 2016 is going to be a big movement to that, and it's you've seen a lot of consolidation and a lot of big players now solely focused on this. So it's not just ourselves and Google and Facebook, but the MarTech companies and a lot of these big companies. I think with that much force driving behind that,
so you think
programmatic
measurement's
vision,
going to get better?
I think measurement for sure will get better. Online to offline, that's going to totally blur, and we're going to have marketers and publishers are going to get a really good view of a consumer, and they're not going to care about device or online or offline. Is this my customer? This is my my guest in my store. This is who I'm going after, and the technology is helping me find them, measure them, and do it all better. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Programmatic prodigy. Some really great advice for me and for our members. I love that you embrace, what a company can be in terms of the relationships and the interpersonal connections, and that building those over time is collateral. And not
it's an asset that you can't.
It's something that really makes a difference.
Absolutely.
And you certainly have made your mark. I think it's insightful that you recognize that your career successes have paralleled this amazing journey that AOL and Verizon are on together. And your 40 under 40, the pride in your accomplishment there is really something that I won't forget. So thank you so much for the time, and congratulations on all your successes.